What does $104,000 mean to you? Maybe that number makes you picture a really nice sports car, like really nice. Or maybe your brain goes somewhere more practical. In fact, that's almost the exact cost of getting a college education in the United States. But for 1 in 4 American women, $104,000 represents something much different. It's how much domestic violence will cost a female survivor over her lifetime. And while many people are aware of physical and emotional abuse, there's another form of domestic violence that's often overlooked. It's called financial abuse, and it occurs in nearly 99% of abusive relationships. And the first step to stopping financial abuse is understanding it.
My name is Nisha, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I love boxing. I love dancing. I am a poet, very, very, very close with my family. I'm a mom of 2. I have 3 sisters and a little brother. Definitely, those are my heart. So I met him. I was working at a law firm at the time. He was a great dancer. He was funny. He was attractive. And we just kind of vibed and connected. And I didn't see signs in the beginning that anything was wrong.
Financial abuse is a type of domestic violence, and it can take many forms.
He would call my job incessantly, over and over and over, leaving voicemails. He would email me. I would call him back, so now I'm arguing on the phone, or I'm listening to voicemails, I'm getting emails, and you're working in a professional setting, you're not supposed to receive these personal calls and emails, especially as consistent as they were. But not only that, they were disruptive.
The lack of autonomy, the lack of agency that a lot of people have in relationships is so normalized. So many Americans don't recognize financial abuse because it's so deeply embedded into our systems and culture. If you think about the fact that it wasn't until the early 70s when a woman could even get a credit card on her own, it really sets a stage for what we see played out in relationships across the country.
3/4 of Americans don't even recognize financial abuse as a form of violence. And that might be due to the fact that financial abuse impacts systemically oppressed communities, people who are queer, trans, disabled, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, at an even higher rate.
There was a point where I had to take a second job just to make ends meet. So one day he showed up at my place of employment and posed as a patron. And he just sat there for however long, a couple hours maybe. So aside from me waiting on him, which was in a sense degrading in itself, but watching me as I interacted with other people, I felt if I smiled too long at this person, I'm going to have to hear about it later. But if I don't smile, will I be considered rude or unprofessional?
Nisha was already struggling financially and eventually lost her house. She was forced to send her children to live with a family member.
And one day he said, well, why don't you just come and move with me? And that's when the physical abuse started.
One major issue in fighting financial abuse is that our society only offers support at a moment of acute crisis, in the form of shelter, access to public benefits, and restraining orders.
The one time I found the courage to call a shelter, they told me that because I wasn't assaulted that night, I wasn't considered imminent danger.
But what about the hundreds of moments leading up to a crisis and the countless moments after? Survivors who experience financial abuse only have $288.90 that they alone can access on average. Try getting safe housing, paying bills, and covering basic needs for less than $300.
I remember he threw my belongings out once in a snowstorm, but I felt like I was standing inside of a snow globe and nobody hears me. Nobody knows I'm there. And just feeling very, very alone. And the only place I had to go was back inside that home, because where else was I gonna go?
Financial insecurity is the #1 obstacle to survivors' safety.
Which is why cash assistance programs like Free From are vital in supporting survivors' safety.
On average, survivors need $783 per month to stay safe. And that's to cover everything from food, housing, keeping the lights on, buying diapers and tampons, transportation, basic living costs.
Getting survivors the cash that they need to use in the ways that they think is best is one of the most important things we can do
There are other material ways to support survivors, too.
There are some practical things you can consider, like holding money safe for a survivor, offering them transportation to work if necessary, and just providing resources as you're able to do so in a way that keeps the survivor safe.
But supporting survivors is about more than making sure they have access to funds.
I believed him when he said that nobody cared about me, that nobody loved me, nobody ever would. And I know now that that couldn't be further from the truth, but I thought that they would be so ashamed because I was ashamed.
For us to really support survivors, every single one of us has to ask what role we can play, what we can do. In your community, you can support survivors by letting people know that you're there.
He didn't take away my voice. He didn't take away my resilience. He didn't take away my fight, my drive. He didn't take away this smile, this flyness, y'all see it. He didn't take it away. So if we can take time to understand domestic violence more as a whole, I think we can eradicate this thing. I truly do.
If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, visit the National Domestic Violence Hotline at thehotline.org or call 1-800-799-7233. There is help and there is hope.